Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is January 2026, and when we talk about South America, all eyes are usually on Brazil, or maybe the latest drama in Argentina.
Giants, right. They just suck up all the oxygen.
Exactly. But today we were looking at a story that, frankly, very few people on the global stage saw coming.
The rise of Paraguay.
We're calling it the South American jaguar in the sources we've looked at.
And this isn't just about one or two good quarters of growth. For you listening, the real mission here is to understand how Paraguay pulled off a genuine structural break.
A desicopal, as they say.
Yes,
Wow.
a decoupling from the volatility of its massive neighbors. We need to look at how they built this.
Okay, so let's start with the huge headline that's really driving all of this.
Investment grade.
The holy grail for any emerging market. It just completely changes the game.
It absolutely does. And look, this didn't happen overnight. It was two very clear, very deliberate steps.
What were they?
First, you had Moody's ratings. Back in July 2024, they upgraded the sovereign rating to BA3.
And then S&P followed.
They did. Just last month, December 2025, Standard & Poor's moved them to BBB-.
Let's pause on that because those letters and numbers are so important. For anyone who isn't deep in global debt markets, what does getting a BA3 or a BBB- actually unlock?
It's monumental. You're moving out of the speculative or, junk category.
Which means?
It means you're no longer just attracting high-risk hedge funds. You're now on the radar of the huge, deep pools of global capital.
Pension funds?
Pension funds, institutional investors, many of whom are legally required to only hold investment-grade debt.
So it makes your borrowing cheaper and a lot more stable.
It fundamentally lowers your cost of capital for the next decade.
That is a massive shift. So let's get into the evidence. This whole decoupling idea is at the core of it.
It is.
Historically, if Brazil got a cold, Paraguay got the flu.
Mm-hmm.
The data is suggesting that link is now broken. What's the proof?
The proof is the growth. It's sustained and it's counter-cyclical.
Meaning it's growing even when the region is slowing down.
Precisely. While a lot of Latin America is struggling to get past, say, 2.5% growth, Paraguay is projecting between 3.8 and 4.5% for this year and next.
And that's on top of a really strong recovery, right?
Yeah.
I remember the drought in 2022 hit them hard.
It did, but they bounced back with 4.7% growth in 2023. So this isn't just luck. It's durable.
So what's powering it now? It can't just be agriculture coming back online.
No, it's more than that. It's a kind of trifecta. You have the recovering agriculture, yes, but the real engine is this booming export manufacturing sector.
The maquila.
The maquila. And all of it is anchored by a stable, incredibly competitive energy base from the Itaipu Dam.
The other thing that really stood out to me from reports was the monetary side. The Central Bank of Paraguay, the BCP.
A true anchor of stability.
I mean, in a region known for chronic high inflation, how do they manage to get it so right?
They chose discipline over political convenience, and the rating agencies love that.
So they set a target and actually stuck to it.
They did. They anchored expectations right around their goal of 4.0%, give or take 2%.
And they weren't afraid to hike rates when they had to.
Hike them hard. Up to 8.5%. And now they've managed to bring them back down into a more stimulative range, around 6.0 to 6.5%, without letting inflation get out of control.
That signals a real institutional maturity.
It does. It fosters credit growth without chaos.
Okay, so we've got the macro picture, the IG status, but let's get into the nuance. Moody's and S&P are on board, but there's a holdout, isn't there?
There is. Fitch ratings.
They're still one step below investment grade at BB+ Shan. Why are they so cautious?
And this is probably the most important point for any potential investor. Fitch did revise their outlook to positive, so they see the momentum, but they still point to deep structural problems. Specifically, and I'm quoting here, weak governance indicators and a shallow local capital market. So basically, Fitch is saying the numbers look great, but the institutional plumbing is still a bit creaky.
And that institutional question leads us to the real-world impact. Is this just numbers on a page, or are we seeing actual big-ticket investments happening because of this?
Oh, we are definitely seeing the proof. The lower risk makes these huge projects possible.
Like what?
Well, the sources point to two big ones. The Paracel cellulose plant, that's a $4 billion project.
$4 billion. Wow.
And the Atome green fertilizer plant. These aren't small bets. These are long-term commitments that rely on policy stability. That's the power of IG status.
Okay, let's talk about that industrial engine, the maquila phenomenon. The data shows this was a very deliberate play to attract manufacturing.
A brilliant piece of Structural arbitrage, really.
How does it work?
It's designed for foreign capital, mostly from Brazil, to set up factories that only produce for export. And the hook isn't just low tax, it's simple tax.
The 1% advantage.
Exactly. A single flat 1% tax on the value you add locally. Regionally, that's almost impossible to compete with.
And it's working. Exports are over $1 billion a year, creating tens of thousands of jobs.
Over 28,000 formal jobs, yeah.
But is it just assembling T-shirts? Or is there a move up the value chain?
That's the crucial change. It's shifting to higher complexity goods.
For example?
Auto parts. Specifically, complex cable harnesses that plug right into the supply chains of Brazilian car manufacturers. That's real industrial integration.
And none of this works without cheap, reliable power.
Which brings us to Itaipu. 100% renewable energy.
And they just locked in a huge fiscal win with the dam, didn't they?
A landmark deal in 2024. They set the tariff with Brazil at just over $19 per kilowatt month for 3 years.
And that translates to how much for the government?
It secures about $1.25 billion a year in revenue for the Paraguayan state. Cash that is absolutely vital.
But the really big negotiation is still coming.
It is. The Annex C of the Itaipu Treaty. It's up for renegotiation now through 2026.
And the goal here is to change the entire model.
The goal is to ditch what they call the rentier model.
Which is just selling surplus energy to Brazil for cash.
Right. And they want to shift to an industrialist model using that cheap green power themselves to attract heavy electro-intensive industries.
That could be a complete game changer.
If they pull it off, yes, it changes everything.
Which sets us up perfectly for the big investor hook, the triple 10 tax regime.
This is the competitive edge defined by its simplicity.
So what is it?
It's a flat 10% corporate income tax, a flat 10% personal income tax, and a 10% value-added tax.
Simple.
Incredibly simple. And when you put it side by side with its neighbors,
The difference is just stark.
it's not even close. That 10% corporate rate is a massive discount compared to Brazil's 34% or Argentina's 35%.
And the VAT, the sales tax.
The 10% VAT is half of Uruguay's 22%. It's a huge advantage in both the rate and the lack of complexity.
And there are metrics tracking investor confidence in this, right?
Yes, the Economic Climate Index, the ICE, it consistently ranks Paraguay as the leader in the region.
Which means investors believe these rules are going to stick.
Exactly. They believe the government won't just change things overnight. That predictability is maybe the most valuable asset they have.
And hey, if you're liking what you're hearing today, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, leave us a like and maybe drop a comment on what you'd like us to cover next.
In the description, you'll also find a link to PayPal if you want to support what we're doing.
We really don't ask for more than the cost of a coffee, and honestly, every little bit helps us keep making content like this.
It really does. So thank you for your support.
All right, so now we have to turn to the other side of the coin, the talons de Achilles.
The Achilles heels. Because we've painted a pretty rosy picture so far.
And it is a good story. But the sources are very clear about the deep structural risks that could derail everything. This is what Fitch is worried about.
Okay, so what's risk number one?
The most immediate threat is the public pension system, the CAJA fiscal crisis.
The Public Employee Pension Fund. What's the problem?
It is a fiscal hemorrhage.
Yeah.
The deficit hit $380 million last year in 2025.
And it's growing.
It's projected to grow by another $100 million every single year if they don't reform it.
So the government is just plugging that hole with tax money.
Exactly. And every dollar that goes to the pensions is a dollar that can't go to new roads or hospitals or schools.
This must be a huge political fight.
It's the political test for this government. They have a reform package for 2026, but they're facing massive resistance from the unions.
And if they fail?
If they fail, you could easily see the rating agencies put their outlook back to negative. It would undermine all the progress they've made.
Which leads right into the second major risk. Governance and corruption. This is the institutional weakness Fitch was talking about.
It's the big contradiction. You have this fantastic fiscal policy on one hand and really poor institutional quality on the other.
How poor?
Transparency International's 2024 index puts Paraguay at 149 out of 180 countries, a score of just 24 out of 100.
Oof.
It's a serious problem, and it's what keeps the highest quality, most risk-averse capital on the sidelines.
So the idea is that even with a low 10% tax, you're still paying a high implicit cost of doing business because of bureaucracy and graft.
That's the trade-off. And the low tax has to be good enough to compensate for that weakness.
Okay, what's the third risk?
Climate and debt. We saw in 2022 how vulnerable their agriculture and logistics are to droughts.
Right. If the Paraguay River gets too low, the whole supply chain grinds to a halt.
Exactly. And on the debt side, the total amount is manageable, around 36% of GDP.
Which is pretty low for the region,
It is. But the composition is risky. Nearly 90% of it is in US dollars.
creating a big foreign exchange risk if their currency weakens.
Their debt burden explodes. They're trying to issue more bonds in local currency, but it's still a major vulnerability.
So as we wrap up here, the big picture is that Paraguay has managed to become this rare island of stability and high growth.
Supported by disciplined macro management and a really aggressive, simple tax code, for an investor, it's a unique value proposition.
It's not Uruguay, which is high cost and service-based.
And it's certainly not the high volatility, high complexity of Brazil or Argentina. It offers low cost and high growth, which is ideal for industry.
Okay, so to leave our listeners with a clear roadmap, what should you be watching for in 2026? What's the strategic watch list?
3 things. First, that pension reform. Does the government have the political capital to pass the unpopular CAISA fiscal reform? It's crucial.
Number 2.
The Annex C negotiations. Does Paraguay shift from being an energy renter to an energy industrialist?
And finally,
Climate. It sounds simple, but you still have to watch the weather. Favorable rains and river levels are still the floor for their entire economy.
and that energy point, that's the really big thought to leave you all with to explore.
It is.
If a country is using a 100% clean energy surplus to power a huge industrial shift, how fast can it transform from just an agricultural exporter into a major regional hub for green, energy-intensive manufacturing? That potential leap is incredibly compelling.
A really remarkable story to watch unfold.
And with that, we come to the end of today's deep dive. We hope you liked it, that you learned something new, and that you'll join us for the next one.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you again very soon.
Remember, you can find our PayPal in the description if you'd like to help us out. Thanks again, and see you next time.